Hello everyone, welcome back. So in this project, we're going to build an AI powered automation to streamline the process of slide creation from the text documents. So whether you're dealing with reports, research papers, meeting notes, or the business proposals, so this AI solution reads, summarizes and generate the PowerPoint presentations all with minimal effort. So let's start building this. All right, so the first step, we need to start with creating an empty folder, and then we're going to create a environment. So if you are working with multiple projects, it's good practice to create a separate environment for that. So we'll do that step first. Okay, then we can proceed with the project. So let me just go to my downloads. I'll create a new folder here. So let me just name this folder as Euron AI based. Uh, Euron AI based auto generating PowerPoint. Auto generating PowerPoint. PowerPoint slides. Right. So this is my empty folder. So let me just copy this path and open this in the VS Code. So I'll be using Anaconda environment. Okay. So if you are familiar with python.env, you can just try to create environment using that. But in this project, I'll be using the Anaconda. Fine. So let me just open the Anaconda prompt here. So this is my Anaconda prompt. Anaconda prompt. First, let me do cd into this and do code dot so that I can open the VS Code directly into this folder. Okay, so right now I'm in this same folder called Euron AI based auto generating PowerPoint slides. So this is done. Okay, let me open the terminal. So I'll be working with command prompt, and right now I'm inside the base environment. So in case if you don't have Anaconda, you can just try to get the Anaconda. Its installation step is very simple. You need to just go to browser and type Anaconda download. Just download the package and do next. That will be installed. Okay, and you can create an Anaconda environments. So if you are not familiar with Anaconda environments, if you are familiar with Python venv module, so you can just create an environment in that. But make sure you create an environment, because if you're not creating an environment, so whatever the packages you're installing, so that will be reflected in your base environment. I mean, like in the base system. So tomorrow, if you're working with some other versions of the Python or some other packages, it will try to give issues with the dependencies. Okay, there'll be a lot of dependencies issues. We can't work with other projects. So make sure you create an environment. Fine. So right now I'm in the base environment. The first step is let's create an environment. Okay, to create an environment, so we need to type conda create hyphen name. I'll just name this as Euron AI slides. Euron AI slides. I'll be using Python 3.10. Python equals to 3.10 and do enter. And I'll give S. And let me activate this environment. So conda activate. So conda activate, and the environment name, that is Euron AI slides Python. So AI slides, just Euron AI slides. Yeah. Let me do enter. Yeah, you can see right now I'm inside this environment. So the next important step is to install all the dependencies. Okay. So let me just try to install the dependencies. So I'll be doing pip install OpenAI, Llama Index, Crew AI, and all the necessary modules. So it will take few minutes, okay, for the installation. You can just fast forward the video. So right now it's installing. So let's wait. Yeah, so this is done. So even I need one more package. It's called PyPDF. So to deal with the PDF files. So I'm even installing that. All right, so once this is done, so let's try to verify this. Okay, so this is the command, okay, to verify if all these necessary packages has been installed or not. Okay, so if you see, so we have this all the dependencies installed successfully. So you should get this message, that is we are importing pandas, pptx, okay, pypdf, okay, matplotlib, okay, FastAPI, Streamlit, okay, all the necessary dependencies. So this is done. So now let's try to freeze this. Okay, so let's create a requirements.txt file so that tomorrow if I want to do the installation, I can directly do that. So pip freeze requirements.txt. So if I open my requirements.txt, so based on my Python version, so all these dependencies has been installed. All right, so now the next step is to create a folder structure, so which is basically I'll be will be following in the project. Okay, so we'll try to create a folder structure and all the necessary scripts, okay, which we will gonna add it. So let's try to add that. All right, so the first step, uh, so let's create a folder. So I'll be creating a folder called src source, and within the source let me create another folder called agents. So source will contain all my source codes, okay, and within the source I'm creating a one more folder called agents. And within the agents let me create, okay, so inside the agents we'll have all the AI agents like crew AI or llama index, and within the agents let me create all the scripts. Okay, the one of the script we're gonna add here is called content extractor, which basically help us to extract the contents uh, based on like whatever I'm passing, okay, whether it's a PDF, whether it's a docs, or whether it's a txt or a CSV, right? So I need to extract the files first, okay, so before creating PPTs, right? So for that we need to have we need a script, okay, so we'll be creating we'll be writing a script called inside this content extractor. Okay, let me just write down. So content extractor construct extractor.py. So within this, we're going to add all the code which help us to extract the content from the files. So next, we'll have one more file called slide generator, called slide generator.py. So inside the slide generator, so this is the AI based slide generator. We'll be using Python pptx module. Okay, so using that, we're going to generate the slides. So the next, so even let's try to create a one more script, okay, so called image generator, in case we want to add any of the images for your ppts, even we can just make use of that. So I'll just add this called image generator. Image generator dot py, and let's add one more file called workflow. I'm just creating all the scripts, okay, so that if at the end, like if you're not required the scripts, we can try to delete it, okay, but this is how the structure will be. We'll have the flow manager, flow manager. So this controls the agents, okay, so flow manager dot py. All right, so within the source we have the agents, and in the agents we have the content extractor, image generator, spelling is wrong here, so let me just rename it. image generator, then slide generator, and the workflow manager. Okay, so next within the source, okay, let me create one more folder called API. Okay, so this is all API related files. Let's try to keep in that. So let me create a main.py, and let me create one more file called routes.py, routes.py. And let's create in the source, let me create one more folder called UI, and inside this let's try to add the config.py, which contains all the utility functions. Okay, so config.py. And the next, so within the same source, within the project folder, okay, now let's try to add one more folder. So right now we have this only this folder, right? So within the source we have agents, API, and the UI. Now let's create one more outer folder called data, so where I'll be keeping all the input files like PDF, it could be docs, okay, any other files. This will be my data. And let's create one more folder called output. Okay, so this will basically after generating the PPT results, it will be stored inside this output. And apart from that, even we need a .env file. Just a second. Yeah, so next even we need a .env file. There's an environment file, so we will keep all our API keys, okay, all the related environment keys. Okay, so we'll be keeping that. So let me just go and create that. So .env, this is a very important, okay, it's because all the APIs, okay, you need to set it here. So here we're gonna add open API key. So that is OpenAI API key. So make sure just add your open API key over here. Okay, fine. So let me just save this file. All right, so just to summarize, so we have the data. So within the data we're gonna keep all our data files. So next we have the a source. Okay, so within the source we have the agents. Okay, so within the agents we have uh, four files. Okay, one is the content extractor, slide generator, and so this image, okay, we'll add that at the later. Okay, so let's keep it the content. So let's add the slide. Instead of this workflow, let's rename this as summary. Okay, it will be good. So I'll just tell here summarize, summarizer. Okay, summarizer.py. Fine. And within the API, so we have two files. One is the main and one is the route. And within the UI, okay, let's try to add, because we're gonna run the Streamlit, right? So instead of config, let's try to add the app, okay, to look better. Okay, so app.py, and within later, okay, as we proceed, if any of the files is required, we're gonna add it. Okay, so this is what, so these are the folder structure of our project. Okay, so requirement.txt, venv, src, output, and the data. So now let's try to implement the logic one by one. Okay, so before that, let's try to copy and paste some of the data here. So I already have some data, so let me just go here to downloads. So there is some data, for example, like here I have some PDF. Okay, this is very simple sample data over here. You can see like AI is revolutioning how presentation created. Okay, so just add some dummy data. So this is for the testing. Okay, so that whenever I'm executing something, okay, so it should not hit my open API key. We are just testing the project. Okay, so here I'm just added very few text. Okay, so that whenever the content is being generated, there is a PPT is being generated, so I can see some of the pointers in my PPT. Okay, so this way I have some data over here, like all those are samples. Let me just copy this. I'll do Control C, and let me just go to my project folder, that is Euron, and inside the data let me just paste this all the files over here. I'll do Control S. So now if I just go to my project, so you can see all those files here. Okay, sample.csv, sample.docs, sample.pdf, sample.text. So these are my all the samples. Okay, so now let's try to implement all these scripts one by one. All right, so first let's start with content extractor. So we already added the contents. Well, let's try to extract the contents from this. So let me just close all this. Uh, and let me just paste the open API key also. And let me just paste it. Control B, I'll save it, Control S. All right, so here, so this is my API key. So I have added the API key in the, make sure you just save the file, Control S. Okay, so let me just close it. Okay, so make sure you just update the API key over there. And this is all my sample text. Let me just close all these files. Okay, so the first file, so the first script we're gonna add is the content extractor. We'll see like whatever the content we have added. So let's try to extract that first. So first, let's start importing all the necessary packages, right? Necessary modules. So here, let me import OS. So next, let's import pandas, import OS, import pandas as PD. Uh, Next, let's import fids. Okay, so this is for reading with the PDFs. So next, let's import from docsx, import document, import document, and from llama index dot core, let's import simple directory reader, simple directory reader. Reader. Okay, so first we are importing OS, which basically handles all the files and the directory operations. So next we are importing the pandas, which help us to read the CSV files. Okay, so then we have fits, so which extracts the text from the PDF files. So then we have one, we're importing the docsx. Okay, so docsx basically reads all the docsx files, that is a Microsoft Word documents. And finally we are importing simple directory reader, which is basically is used to handle the directory. It's from the llama index. Okay, so now let's try to create the classes. Okay, so let's try to create a class called content extractor. Let me just define that, then I'll explain. Okay, so let me just write it. So class content, let's define a class called content. C is capital, C content extractor, content extractor. And let me just define the constructor. So df underscore init underscore, and let me just pass the self. And here we'll have the directory which help us to read the data. Okay, so directory, and that directory will be inside the data slash. Okay, that's already we have created, right? So inside the data slash we have all those files. And self dot directory is equal to directory. Let's create extract text. Next, create a function. So let's add one more function now so that it will try to read it. Okay, okay, the first method, it handles all the text data. Okay, so let me just write on. So df extract text from txt, and here it will take a self and the file path. So here, so I'll be using the with, so with open, this is just a file handling. Okay, so path file path, and I'll be reading that in the read mode. Encoding, next is encoding, it's UTF-8. All these parameters you need to pass it, okay, so that it will be able to read the files properly. UTF-8 as files, as file. And basically after reading it, just return file dot read, file dot read. Okay, so it basically opens and reads the text files using the ETF encoding. So now let's try to read the data from the PDF. So next method, def extract a text from PDF, from underscore PDF, self, I'll pass the self and the file path, pointer and file path. So here, so I'll be creating a empty string here, okay, to so that I can just read all the content and store it inside this. So let me create a variable called doc, which will basically open the file first, okay, using the fit z. Okay, so fit z, what the fit z does, it try to extract the text from the each page of the PDF, whatever the PDF have uploaded, so it'll try to extract the each page. So fit z dot open, and I'm gonna pass the file path here. And we need to loop over if you have multiple pages, so I need to loop over it to read that content. So for page in the doc, so I've created already this object, right? So it will try to read the all the contents from the PDF. So for the page in the doc, just append the text. So text plus equals to page dot get text, and here I'm gonna append the text here. Okay, so and let's add the new line, okay, every time after reading the each page, slash n. And finally I'm gonna return the text, return text. Fine. So the next PDF is done, so now we are left with docs. Now let's try to read the docs. So def extract text from the docs, and here I'm gonna pass the self and the file path, docs. Let me create a file object called docs. So I'll be using the document, so to read the file. So file path, which I've already imported on top, right? So this is a document. Okay, document. So file path, and just return after reading it, return in the new line. Okay, return slash n dot join. I'm just writing in the one single this thing here using the list comprehension. Okay, so we have para dot text for para in doc dot paragraph. So it will have the property called paragraphs, paragraph, RAPHS, paragraphs. Okay, so para dot for para in docs doc, in this doc object we have the paragraphs method, sorry, paragraphs property. So doc dot paragraph will have all the paragraphs. I'm just looping over that, okay, and trying to join that and with the new line. Okay, so it basically reads the each paragraph from the Word document. Make sure just add the correct names. Okay, so paragraph, just paragraphs. Okay, that's correct. Okay, next is, now let's read the data from the CSV. So def extract a text from CSV, from CSV, and here I'm going to pass the self and the file path, and so here I'll tell df pd dot CSV is very simple. Okay, we can use the pandas. PD dot read CSV, read underscore CSV, and let me pass the file path over here, and return df dot to string. It will read the pandas CSV file, okay, and return the pandas data frame. So in case if you want to return the any so this is with respect to some specific file formats, okay. So now next method we're going to write that which help us to extract the content from any of the file, okay. So let's try to do that. We are just defining all the, so this is the individual method which help us to read the text data, PDF data, docs data, and the CSV. Now let's add one more method, okay, so which help us to extract any of these files. So I tell here extract any of these files on the top, okay, whatever you have written. So extract from file, and here it will take self file path, and here let me just use some of the conditions once again. Okay, so inside this we're gonna take the ext object. So ext. So what this ext? So this is basically coming from os dot path dot split text. We are splitting the text from the file path, okay. So file path, and we are storing a important a value from this file path that is called ext. So why we are doing this? So it will able to identify what is the file path, because this ext basically contains the extension, okay. So os dot path dot split text, and I'm just splitting this file path. So whatever the file path, we're gonna just pass it, and within that I'm gonna extract only the extension, okay, so that based on that extension I can read the content. So here let me just write down the if conditions based on whatever we have extracted. So if that ext is equal to dot txt, then return self dot extract text from txt file path, okay. I'm gonna pass the file path here, okay, and return what? So this is what we need to return. So if it's txt, then self dot extract from text. This is what the extract from text we have written on the top. So it will try to read, it will try to execute that and try to extract the content from that, okay. The next, so if elif, we have multiple conditions. Elif if ext is equal to dot pdf is equal to dot pdf, so just return self dot extract from the PDF, okay. I'll be selecting that, and of course here also I'll pass the file path, okay. Next, one more condition, elif ext equals to dot docx, okay. There's a docx, docx, just make sure you correct extension, okay, docx, and here just return a self dot extract from docs, okay, and here we're gonna pass the file path. Then CSV also. Next we have one more elif ext is equals to dot csv, and here we're gonna return self dot extract from csv, and here I'm gonna pass the file path, okay. If any of the file is not there, then finally we'll have else. So I'll tell here else what? So else Okay, so else just raise in some exception. Okay, so value error raise the value error, and you can just tell that it's an unsupported file. Okay, if user is trying to upload any of the other files. Unsupported unsupported file format. Unsupported file format. I'll whatever the file format that will be displayed to the user. Okay, so unsupported file format, the ext will be displayed. All right. So now the next step is we have added all the individual components. We first return all those functions which help us to read the individual files. So then we have created one more method which help us to read the some specific because this method will help us to based on whatever the user is uploading it. Okay, so make sure that based on that it will try to read that particular files. Okay, so if it is text or docs or PDF or whether it's a txt. So now we need to write a method which is basically extract the content from the directory itself. So I need to have a method which reads all the files in the directory in the specified directory. That will call the extract from file this method. Okay, and it stores the extracted text in the dictionary format. Okay, so now we need to write the final method which help us to perform this particular task. So let me just write down that. So we have last a method which basically calls this extract files. So I'll write here def extract from directory. So extract from directory, and here let me just pass this self. I'll be storing all the data in the dictionary format. So let's create an empty dictionary called extracted. Extracted data. Extracted data. It will be in the empty dictionary, and let me write down the condition. So if not os dot path dot exist, first check the path if it exists or not. So that will be self dot directory. And if that is exist, okay, so if this I'm giving the reverse condition. Okay, if not, okay, then writes an exception. Okay, first check whether the directories exist or not. So writes the file not found error. Okay, file not found error. And here I'm gonna just display directory not found, because you have given the slash data, right? So this directory has to be present. So it is self dot directory. Okay, so next is a condition. Then for file, now let's if this present, so if it is false, so if file for the file name in os dot a list directory, so I'll list the directory from this from self dot directory, and here we're going to extract the file path. That is file path. Create a variable called file path, and here let me just get that information from the os dot path dot join, and I'll be getting that from self dot directory and the file name. So here are the file path, right? So first for the file name inside this list of whatever the files we have, then I'm going to create all the file paths. Okay, so the next, so inside this let's add a condition, that is if os dot path dot is file or is file which is given in the file path. Okay, so ensure that it's a file. Okay, that's what we are checking. So try this extract data, and here I'm gonna pass what, a file name. Okay, so I'm just calling this previous method. Okay, where is that, extract from file. So here file name, and so I'll just tell here self dot extract from file. Extract from a file. ext, see spelling is wrong here, okay, so it's not reflecting. Okay, so make sure you just add the correct spelling. ext ract, okay, extract from, sorry, so this is extract from directory, ract, extract from directory. So this is exact, I've written exact here, not exact, it's extract. ext ract, okay, extract from file, extract from data. That's what it's not reflecting here. Okay, so while typing you will get that information. Okay, so extract from file, and here I'm going to pass what, a file path, okay, which I've just created. This is in the try block. So in the exception, so except, rise the exception as e, and just display that particular e over here, that is print print error processing, whatever the file name, we are getting the error, and whatever the email, whatever the message we got it. Okay, and everything is, if everything is set, then generally return it. Okay, return the extracted data, return extracted data. Okay, so let me just save this, Control S. Okay, so here what is happening, first it will try to reads all the files in the specified directory, that is in the slash data. Then it calls this extract from file method for each file, and finally stores the extracted text in the dictionary format. Very important. Okay, each file, it will read all the files and try to read it. Okay, so next, finally we need to add the execution block here. Okay, so we are done with this script. So finally we need to add the execution script. Okay, so here I'll dial if underscore name equals to main equals to extractor. Let me create a variable called extractor, and here I'll just call this content extractor, and here I'm going to pass what, a directory. So directory is what, a data slash. So next, extract extracted content, so that will be in the dictionary format. So extracted content. So I'll take this extractor dot extract from directory, then for file and content in extracted content dot items. We're just looping it. Okay, for items, just print all the content, just print extracted content from file slash n content /n. Okay, so we're just limiting the output. Okay, so with the 500. If you don't want, because if you have the lengthy data, it will try to display everything. Because I don't want to display everything here, so I've just added the limited output here. Okay, if you don't want to have a limited output, you can just try to print everything, because it will just fill up your entire terminal. Okay, so make sure just add the limited content over here. All right, so this is the final execution block. Okay, so where it will just try to create an instance of the content extractor with this data as a target directory. Then it try to extract the contents from all the files in the directory, and finally prints the first 500 characters of the extracted text. Okay, so yes, so this is the execution script, this content extractor script. Okay, now let's try to run this. So if everything is good, it should run. Let me just do Control S. And so here, let me just type it Python src/agents, because inside the agents we have kept this file, right? Agents, it's content extractor .py. So no model docs. If you're getting something no model, just do pip install docx. That's it. Okay, so make sure I've added everything. Now let me just rerun this. So docs src agents content extractor, no module exceptions. Okay, so pip install. So this kind of dependencies will come. Okay, so make sure you just install this, some of the dependencies. Let me just see. Let me see if the exceptions, do we have exceptions? Some specific version. So if I just check my requirements.txt, we don't have. Okay, let's try to add exception group. Let's do pip install. EXCEPTN exception group 1.2.2. Okay, so now it should work. Let's see. Python no module exceptions. Did I make any mistakes here? Exceptions. Line 30. Okay, so I've just uninstalled this docs. Okay, what I've installed? I've installed another module called Python docx, not just Python docs. Now let me just try to rerun this and check if this is working. Yeah, so we were successfully able to extract all the content here. Can you see? Name PD is not defined. Why name PD is not defined for the... So do we have CSV? Do we have output here CSV? Yeah, we have CSV. Okay, so it's import pandas as PD. Okay, this is slight mistake. PD Control S. Okay, let me just rerun. I'm getting the output for other, but only for the CSV I was getting error. Let me just rerun this now. Yeah. So you can see from the CSV it got extracted, from the docs also got extracted, from PDF got extracted, and if even from the sample.txt is got extracted. Fine. So everything is working fine. So the only mistake here is like don't install pip install only docs. Just try to install this version. Okay, that is pip install Python docs X. Okay, this is what you need to install it. All right, so now that this is done, okay, let me just save this. So the next we have something called summarizer. Okay, so in this script, so basically we're gonna create something called summarizer class using the Llama index and the OpenAI GPT-4 to summarize the extracted text into some key points for the PPT slide. Because whenever you have some kind of a content, of course you're not gonna paste all the contents within the PPT. So we'll try to summarize that content, okay, with help of the OpenAI Chat GPT-4, and those bullet points or those key points will be added inside the PPT. Okay, so let's try to add this module. So let me just start with the summarizer. The first step is to import all the necessary packages, right? So let's try to do that. So import OS. So then from a dot env import load dot env load.env. So this is basically to load the API keys which I mentioned inside .env file. So .env. So from llama index, from the llama index dot core, from llama index dot core import GPT vector store. I'll tell what is this. Okay, first let me just write on. So GPT vector store index and a simple directory reader and document. So from llama index dot llms dot OpenAI import OpenAI, then from llama index dot core dot settings import settings over here. Okay, so now the first is to access the environment variables. That's what importing it. So import OS to access the environment variables. So next .env dot load .env. So it basically loads the environment variables from the .env file. So next we are importing this GPT vector store index, which creates a vector based index to process and retrieve the summarized content. So next we have the simple directory reader, which help us to read the multiple documents from the directory. The next we have the document itself, which represents the document to be processed. Okay. So next we have the OpenAI. So this integrates the OpenAI GPT models. And finally, we have the settings. So it sets all the OpenAI GPT models as default for the Llama index. Okay. So all the settings can be done using this setting module. Fine. So now the next step is to load the Open API keys. So let me just write down. Load environment variables, and here I'll just load the .env, and here I'll pass OpenAI API key, and here I'll just pass os dot get env open API key. Okay, that's what the name you have mentioned inside the environment variable. So open AI API key. All right. So make sure spellings are correct. Open AI API key load env. Fine. So next let's create a class called summarizer. Okay. So which help us to do the summary of the docs. So class summarizer. And here let me create a constructor df underscore init underscore self, and here Let me just call this settings.llm. I'm just setting up the settings for the LLM, and that is for the OpenAI, for the OpenAI, for the OpenAI. The model we're gonna use is GPT-4. And we need to pass the key for that, right? So I'll be passing the API key. So API key is basically coming from this Open API key. Let me just copy this, Control C, and this is my Open API key. Fine. Now let's define a method called summarizer. So summarize text, summarize text. So first we need to initialize the document. So we'll be gonna using the llama index for summarization. So I'll use here document, documents, and here let me just call that document text equals to text, index. So here it's basically creating an index using this GPT vector store from documents dot from, sorry, it's small, from documents, and I'm gonna call this documents, okay, which will basically create an index. So next we have the query engine. So query engine, I'll tell here index dot as query engine, and we're gonna create a variable called response query engine. I'll explain just a second. So I'm going to pass the query here, that is summarize this text into key points, suitable for a PowerPoint slide. And finally I'm going to return it. So return response dot response. All right, so here the first, this is the method we have defined called summarize text. Okay, the first we have defined something called documents. Okay, so this basically converts the input text into llama index document. That's what you have written. So documents, and we are passing that particular text here. So next it's gonna create an index for the processing text. Okay, so using this GPT based vector search, so we're gonna create an index for the processing and the analyzing the content. Then finally using this query engine, okay, so we are gonna allow the user to ask a questions about the document. Okay, so that's what we are converting the index query we are converting that index into a query engine so that we can ask the questions. Then finally we are gonna ask the GPT-4 to summarize the text into PowerPoint friendly key points. Okay, so that's what it is, and finally it will gonna return the response. Right, so now let's try to run this summarizer and try to test it. Okay, using the using some dummy text. Okay, so let me just do that. So here let me add this some dummy text to get tested. Okay, this will be my execution process. So let's try to run the summarizer. Okay, to test this, I'm gonna paste this. If okay, name is equal to name is equal to main, and here we have some sample text. Okay, so just to see if this summarize is working or not, and I'm passing this particular sample text over here, and so this is my I'm just finally printing it. Okay, so let's try to test this now, and I'll just save this. Control S, Python src slash agents slash summarizer dot py. Okay, we are just passing the sample text just to see if this summarizer is working fine or not. Cannot import OpenAI from the Llama index OpenAI. Just check it if this is correct. I've imported properly. Llama index dot llms dot OpenAI import. See, this is what the mistake is. Okay, it's OpenAI. It's OpenAI, not small. Okay, it's OpenAI. Control S. Make sure you save this, and let me just rerun this now. Summarizer or summarize text takes 0% arguments, but 2 was given. Summarizer or summarize text. Sample text. SUMMARIZAT. I'm passing the sample text. That's correct. Yeah, so you can see I have missed it this here. Okay, so it's a self and text. Okay, let me just do Control S, and let me just rerun now. Yeah, you can see I'm getting the summary of all the data as well. And even so this summary, you can summarize text also, right? So it's working fine. All right. All right, so this is done. So now let's try to add this slide generator. So in this script, we're gonna add a classes which basically help us to create the PowerPoint presentation from the summarized content. Okay, so here we already tested by some sample data like summarizer with the content extractor, which perfectly working fine. Summarize also done. Now let's try to add a code for the slide generator. Fine. So let's start. So first, let's try to import all the necessary docs. Okay, so import OS, then from pptx import presentations, presentation presentation. Okay, yeah, so from pptx import the presentation, then from pptx dot util import inches, and from .env import load.env. Okay, so first we are importing the file all the like importing the file system operations, right? So then we are importing the pptx, which allows us to create and modify the PowerPoint presentations. Then we're importing something called inches, which basically helps to define the slide element dimensions. Okay, then whatever the pointers you're gonna add to know those dimensions, we are importing this inches. So then from .env to load all the environment files. Okay, so the next, let's go and create a slide generator class. So I'll define a class slide generator, and here let's define underscore init underscore. Here I'm gonna pass the self, the output directory. Okay, so once the slide is generated, so it will be outputted inside this output directory. Okay, that's what I've told. So self dot output, output directory is output directory. Then os dot make dirs self dot output directory, and just check if the exist is present or not. Okay, ensures the output directory exists or not. Okay, so this is what exists. Okay, we'll check. So it's set to true. The next, to create the slides now. Okay, very important method. Okay, df create a slide deck, and here I'm gonna pass the self title and a bullet points. Bullet points. Let's create a presentation. I'm creating a variable called PRS, and I'll call this presentation whatever I've created on top. Okay, so we are initializing this presentation. Okay, PRS. Fine. So the first, let's create a title of this slide. Okay, so here I'll just write on the comments. So let's create a title slide. For the title slide, so we'll have something called slide layout. Let's create a variable called slide layout, and here it will come from PRS dot slide layout. So this will be a title of this slide. So next we'll have a slide itself. So I'll just PRS, take that PRS, and I'll gonna create a slides dot add slide, which has a method to add a slide. And I'm gonna pass what? A slide layout. Then we'll have title placeholder, slide dot shapes dot title. Next we have title placeholder dot text, and I'm gonna pass the title here. Okay, so first what happens? So first it will try to select the slide title slide layout using this PRS dot slide layout. Then you're gonna add the new slide with the title placeholder. Then finally set the title text to the provided input. Okay, so you can see each and every step is being defined. Right. So now let's try. This is for the title slides. Okay, now let's try to add the content slides. Next is content slides. Content slides. For the content slides, let me just write on for I in a range. Starts from 0 to, and the length of bullet points. So just limit to 5 bullet points. Here I'm just applying all the limits so that for first, if this work fine, then you can remove all these limits. Okay. Then take this slide layout. Inside this slide layout, presentation dot slide layout. So it's the title plus content layout. Okay. One. Then slide equals to prs dot slides dot add slide, and here I'm gonna add this slide which I've just created in the slide layout, that is slide layout. Then we'll have the title shape, the slide dot shapes dot title, and we'll have the content shape. I'll explain just a second. Title. Next we have content shape slide dot placeholder of 1. Then we'll have title underscore shape. First let me just write down, then explain. Text title part I floor operation +1 for bullet in bullet points I to I +5, so maximum 5 slides. I'm just restricting here. Okay, I'll explain like what is this code. So just a second. So p equal to content shape dot text frame dot add underscore paragraph. Then p dot text equal to bullet. And finally, I'm going to save the presentation. I'll explain this just a second. So for output directory, and here I'll just tell generated presentation. .pptx. This is the extension, and finally I'm going to save this. So that is prs dot save pptx underscore path, and let's have the one print just to tell that it's got printed. PowerPoint slides saved to directory pptx path, whatever the path we have defined, it has saved there. Okay, that's what we are printing. All right, fine. So here so we have just defined the logic. Okay, so which basically adding the slides to my PPT. Okay, so first we have defined something called PRS. Okay, so this PRS is coming from this module called presentation. So the PRS dot slide layout 1, which basically contains the title plus the bullet points. Okay, what are the bullet points we're going to pass it. Then it will gonna split the bullet points across the multiple slides. So that's what we have defined. So we have just defined that maximum 5 bullet points per slide. So then the title slide, then we have defined the title slide, whatever we have mentioned it. Then we're gonna add the each bullet point as a paragraph. Okay, so that's what the text frame dot add paragraph is doing. So here, whatever the calculation you are seeing, okay, just adding the so for example is the title, and for the each we're adding the 5 bullet points for the each slide here. Okay, and finally we are just saving that particular presentations inside this path. Okay, ppts path. So inside this self dot output directory. Okay, so is what we output directory we have defined on the top. Okay, output directory is a output directory. There's an output. Fine. So you already find the output here. So next, finally, we're gonna just run this script. Okay, to just to see if this running, we need to provide the sample data. So that is this is what the sample data we have provided. So if underscore name is equal to main. So sample title, I'm just telling AI based slide generator, and this is sample points. Okay, so all these are the points, and the slide generator, I'm just calling the slide generator or whatever I have defined on the top. I'm creating an object of the slide generator, and finally I'm executing it. Okay, let me just do Control S. And let me just run this. Let's see if this is working fine, or if you have any errors, let's try to solve that. So here, let me just test this. So I'll type here Python src slash agents slash slide generator dot py. Slide layout. Slide layout. Let's see, there is some mistake in slide layout. SLID slide. SLID slide layout. SLID slide layout. PRS slide layouts. Okay, this is the layouts here. Okay, layouts. Control S. So here also I made the mistake. It's layouts. Control S. Okay, make sure just save it. Placeholder. Okay, so there's a mistake in placeholder. Placeholder. Dot shapes dot title. This is correct. Title underscore PLSHOLD title. This is also correct. Placeholders. Control S. Yeah. Content shape. Okay, content shape. Let's fix that. Yeah, so here I made the mistake. It's content shape, CONTENT, content shape. Okay, Control S. Now let me just rerun this. Yeah, so I got an output, PowerPoint slide saved to this. So if I try to expand the outputs, I can see the PPT here. Let me just verify that from the downloads. This is my PowerPoint project output. If I open the presentation, yeah, can see I'm able to get this. Of course, like it's not that this one, just you can do slight changes here, but I'm able to generate the slides. Okay, so it's absolutely working fine. All right, so now let me just go back to the VS Code. So inside the agents folder, we have completed this content extractors, summarizer, and slide generator. Okay, so it's absolutely working fine. So now let me just create another script called main.py. So which will be our fast API. Okay, so inside the API, we have already added this main.py. Okay, let's try to add this. And let me just close all the scripts. Okay, so first step, let's try to import all the necessary packages, all the imports. Okay, so first let's try to import the fast API. Okay, fast API. Then we are importing what is fast API? It basically creates and manages the API endpoints. So then we are importing the cross middleware. Okay, so it enables the cross origin resource sharing, which allows our front end applications to interact with the backend. Okay, so this is required. Next we have the routes. Okay, right now we have not added anything in the routes. This is my route. Right now it's empty. We're gonna add that later. So we are just from the src, dot api dot routes, I'm importing the router. So which basically help us to where we define all the API routes. Then finally we have the Vcon, which basically helps the fast API server. The next, let's try to initialize it. So this is how we initialize the fast API. So app equals to fast API. So this creates an instance of the fast API app, right? So which handle all the API request. So now let's enable this middleware. Okay. To enable this middleware, this is what the code is. Let me just copy that. Okay. And this is what the code is. Okay, so here so why we go with this CROS, we call this as a CORS. Okay, so if your front end runs on the different domain like localhost 3000, okay, then your backend runs in some host like 8000, then browser will block the request due to some security restrictions. Okay, so under such scenarios we need this CORS middleware, which allows us to connect where the front end can communicate with the fast API backend. So we need this CORS. Okay, so here we have need to here we gonna pass some more parameters like allow origin. Okay, which allows the request from any origin like some specific domains in the production. So even we have allowing the credentials. Okay, so it allows sending the cookies, authentication headers. Then we are allowing the methods like where it allows all the HTTP methods like get, post, put, delete. Okay, and even we are allowing the all the request headers. Okay, so all those things are basically set. Then finally let's define the API route, and even let's define the root endpoint. So this is what the code is. Okay, so here we are just registering the API routes from src slash API slash route, which contains all the endpoints for the processing file, summarizing text, and generating the PowerPoints. So that right now we have not defined that. Okay, so we'll be defining that next. So here, whatever we have defined the methods, right, for a content extractor or the summarizer, try to pull all, it will try to stitch all those components. Okay, and finally we are defining the root endpoint, that is slash welcome to the AI slide generator API. Okay, and finally this is what the message will be displayed, welcome to this, and this is which will trigger the main.py. Okay, let me just save this. All right. All right. So now let's go and define these routes. This is my route.py. I'll save this main.py control S. Okay. So I have the code. Let me just copy and paste that. I'll explain the each and every line here. Okay. So this is my routes because already I have defined all these functions. So here is just we are calling that particular routes here. Okay. So first we are importing all the imports, right? All the necessary packages. Like import OS, which handles the file system operations. Then we're importing the shuttle, which copies the uploaded files efficiently, whatever the files you are uploading it. Okay, if you want to upload that efficiently, so we'll be going to use this particular module. Next, we have a app router. So we're importing the API router, which creates a modular API router for the organizing routes. Then we have to manage all the uploads in the fast API. We're going to use something called upload file and all the file packages. So next we have a file response, which basically sends files as responses because we are generating a PowerPoint. So it will just send that as a response. Okay, for that we need that a module called file response. Next we have a content extractor, which basically extract the text from the uploaded files. We are getting that from the src.agents.content extractor that already we have defined. Next even we have summarizer, which is getting from src.agents.summarizer. We are calling that summarizer method. And from the slide generator, I'm calling src.agents.slide generator. I'm calling that slide generator, which already explained in just a few minutes back. Next, we are initializing the API route. Okay, so here it creates a route object to define the API routes in the modular way. Router is equal to API router, and so this allows importing into the main fast API. Okay, so whatever we have included inside this main.py as well. Okay, so which basically initializing the API route. So next we are setting up the upload directory. So what is upload directory here? It's uploads. So fine. So it's slash uploads. So upload directory. So here it defines the directory where the user uploads the files will be stored. Okay. So here we have data. Okay. Just try to upload that, or else we can create a folder called uploads and try to upload it. Okay. Anything is fine. You can just change it. Okay. So anything is fine. If not, you'll try to create it. Okay. because even we have given this mkdir called upload directory, okay, and exist, okay, and shows the upload directory exist. Fine. So next, so here we are just routing it. So router dot post. There's a slash upload, and here we are just it receives a file through a post request, right? A slash upload, and it saves it to the uploads directory. Okay, so because we are just testing this in API, so this is what the upload directory we have defined it. Okay, this is not uploading the data; it's a totally different thing. Okay, so next here we have this is what the method is. Okay, upload file. So first what happens when you try to receive a file through a post, that is slash upload, then it saves it to the uploads directory and returns the success message. Okay, that's what it does, because here we have given the make directory also if it does not exist. If you want to create it, you can create it here. Okay, so next this is what the slide generation takes place, okay, from this particular step after the upload. So slash generate. Okay, so here it extracts the text from all the uploaded files with help of this content extractor which I have defined it. Then it's gonna summarize the extracted text into bullet points, right? So then finally, so this is like a API endpoint, right? So I'm gonna run this. So from the API, I'm gonna upload the file. Okay, then it will try to generate all those things. Fine. It will gonna extract the content. It will gonna then finally extract that in the bullet points. I can do the summary, and finally we're gonna generate the slide. Okay, so is what it happens. Fine. So yeah, so once you're going to extract the text, then summarize the extracted text, then creates a PowerPoint presentation, then finally returns the message and download link. Okay, so that's what it does. Next, finally, yeah, you can see this is what the name will be, generated presentation. All right, fine. So next, we have the we need to download the generated presentation. So it will be create a folder called slash download. Okay, and here I can just it is a get request. Okay, so you can see this is a get request, and here it sends the PowerPoint file as a downloadable response. Okay, from here you can just download it. Okay, and so it basically returns a file as a response, right? That's what we have defined here. Okay, file response, and it will rename that particular file as AI presentation.pptx. So yeah, AI presentation.pptx. Okay, so this is how it works. All right, so this is all about the routes. Okay, so even let's go now test this. Okay, let me just do Control S and let's try to run this and test it if this route is working fine or not. Okay, so I'll just try to delete this the old PPT which I've just created. So here I'll go to the Euron. Here we have output. Let's try to delete the older one. Okay, yeah, it's open right now. Let me just close this. All right, so everything is blank. So now let me first install the FastAPI. Let's try to re-verify. So pip install FastAPI and uvicon and Python multipart. Okay, we need these packages. Try to install it. Okay, pip install. Okay, it's already there. Okay, fine. Anyways, just to re-verify, just have installed it. Okay, so we have defined the main dot and as well as the rod.py. Now let's try to run this. So here I'll type here uvicon src.api.main app reload. Let me just open this. Yeah, my server started. So welcome to AI generator. Let me give slash docs. Okay, so here we have upload, generate and download. Okay, let's start with the upload. I'll go to post, try it out. So upload, I'll just upload one PDF. Let me upload the PDF. This is my sample docs and click on execute. Okay, so you can see file uploaded successfully. And if I just go back here, so I should see here uploads, and you can see sample dot PDF is absolutely working fine. So even I got 200. Okay, so next, so this is working fine. So next is slash generate dot get. Here try it out and click on execute. Here we're not passing anything because it's a get method. So now it is generating the PowerPoint presentation and it should be stored in the output. Okay, I got successful and it's in this slash download. If I just go here and see the slash out, okay, so inside the slash output, okay, we have this generated presentation. You can see slash output, we have this generated, because this output we have created by default, but it has created once again called generated presentation.pptx. So here I can just re-verify it. You can see I got this presentation. So if I just open this, it's because I've uploaded one simple doc. Okay, I can see the 3 bullet points here. Okay, let me just close it. It's absolutely working fine. So now let's try to test it, the third point, API point. So that is the download. Okay, click on get, and here let me click on try it out. Here we need to give the file name. Okay, so let's give the file name. So I'll just give as generated output. So here I need to give entire path. Let's verify. So it's output because it's in the output folder slash output GENERATED generated underscore PRESENTATION presentation dot pptx. Okay, so this is the download thing. Click on execute. You can see I got a download file here. Okay, if I click on to this download, so the AI presentation got downloaded. So if I just go here, it's the same presentation. If I got download, you can see I got this same presentation over here. Okay, it's absolutely working fine. Okay, fine. So now this is all set. So I got the outputs. Okay, now let's try to implement the UI part. Well, let me just close this server. All right, so then our next step, let's gonna add inside the app.py. So here we'll create a Streamlit app. Let me just copy the code. So here, we are starting with importing the Streamlit as ST, right? And importing the request also, because we are dealing with the FastAPI. And this is my base URL, okay, which you're gonna hit it. So before you're running, so make sure this server has to be running on the backend. Okay. So next we are defining the backend API URL. That's what we have defined it. So then set this is a page title. Okay, AI powered generator. We are just setting the title. We display the app's title. Then we are giving some short description, and we are allowing the user to upload the file now. Okay, so after the it will gonna upload it, we'll try to trigger that routes. Okay, at the backend, and finally. So I can just once the upload is done. Okay, so even the PPT will be generated. So even I'll be getting a download option to download the PPT. Okay, it's the same thing whatever we have tested inside the API. So let me just do this. Okay, it's the same thing. Fine. Okay, let me just save this. First let me just delete the older files. Okay, just to, so here if I just go here, so here I have the output. So this output I'll delete it. What about this output? This output is empty. Okay, let's try to delete this output. And even let's try to delete this output also. And inside the upload, I'll just remove this. Okay, fine. So everything is well and good. Now let me go and run my server first. Okay, and let me open the one more terminal because I need to run this Streamlit also. Command prompt. Here, conda env list. So you are working inside the Euron AI slides. So conda activate Euron AI slides. Okay, it's got activated. Make sure you have installed the Streamlit just to verify. So pip install Streamlit and requests. This both you need to install. Already satisfied. Okay. So let me just control S. Now let's run this app. So it's inside the src UI and the app. Let me just run this. So Streamlit run src/ui/app.py Streamlit. Let me allow this. Okay, so let me verify. Let me click on browse files. Now let me upload the same PDF. Open. Okay, everything is got executed. Even the file also got executed. Let me click on generate slides. Yeah, slides got generated. Even I cannot download it. Fine. It got downloaded, so I can just verify that from the folder also. If I go to the output and see generated presentation. Yeah, so you can see even I got the output over here. And even if I just go back to server, you can see everything got executed here, right? So yes, so we have successfully implemented this auto generating PowerPoint slides. So now you can just take up, you can just extend this, okay, by adding the more features. Okay, you can add, you can just deploy this project. Okay, so you can just carry forward and make it as a version 2, right? So, so always there is an scope for improvement, right? So try to implement and try to add more and more features, and you can just take up this project to the next level as well. Yes. So yes, I hope you have enjoyed it. So see you soon in the next new project.